The cries echoed in the night market, but no one dared to look. A young man stood chained, his eyes hollow, his body trembling under the glow of torches. Around him, merchants argued over prices as if he were nothing more than livestock. Guards in heavy armor watched, silent and cold, making sure no one questioned what was happening. This was the world hidden behind the glory of the Islamic Caliphates, where thousands of men, women and children were taken from their homes, stripped of dignity and turned into property. Their pain was buried under golden palaces and echoing prayers, forgotten by those who lived in power. But the truth was never erased. Tonight, we will uncover the most horrifying acts committed against slaves during the rule of the Caliphates. Acts so cruel and inhuman that they still haunt history. Whispering to us about the cost of unchecked power, the Islamic Caliphates rose to power after the fall of ancient empires, stretching their rule across vast lands in Asia, Africa, and Europe. Their civilization achieved great things: knowledge, trade, architecture, and armies that shook the world. But with their rise came a system of slavery that was woven into society. Victors of war took captives, traders sold human beings across deserts and seas, and children born into captivity inherited chains instead of freedom. Slavery in the Caliphates was not just about labor. It became a machine of control, wealth, and exploitation. Women were forced into harems, often against their will, living under constant watch. Men worked in fields, carried heavy stones for construction, or were used as soldiers in dangerous battles where their lives were considered disposable. The system was maintained not only by violence, but also by fear of being sold, beaten, or silenced forever. Slave markets became a common sight in major cities. Families were torn apart as children were sold separately, their cries ignored by buyers counting coins. Some slaves were branded with hot iron to mark ownership, leaving scars that burned for life. Many women were reduced to objects of pleasure, their voices stolen, their lives trapped behind palace curtains. Young boys were trained and forced into armies, their childhood sacrificed to wars they never chose. In the desert caravans, prisoners were shackled together, walking for days without water, collapsing in sand only to be whipped back on their feet. For those who resisted, punishment was swift and merciless. Chains tightened, food withheld, lashes that broke both body and spirit. To the rulers and merchants, these were acts of control. To the slaves, it was endless suffering, a nightmare that turned days into years and years into forgotten lives. Imagine the silence of a mother as her child was dragged from her arms, sold to a stranger she would never see again. Picture the broken face of a man forced to bow before those who once called him an equal. Villages lived in fear, whispering only in secret, for they knew that speaking too loudly against the system could turn them into slaves themselves. The suffering went beyond the chains. It lived in the hearts of those who survived, in their longing for freedom, in their broken songs sung in the night. Many never tasted liberty again. Their entire lives were spent in service, their names erased, their stories buried. Yet every scar carried a silent message that no empire, no matter how powerful, should be allowed to crush the humanity of those it rules. The cost of silence was generations of stolen lives. Today, the caliphates are gone, their palaces standing as ruins or museums. Tourists walk through halls that once held both rulers and captives, but the stones remember what humans forget. The story of slavery under the caliphates is not just history, it is a warning. Power without compassion becomes cruelty. Silence in the face of injustice becomes betrayal. If we fail to remember the suffering of those who lived in chains, we risk repeating the same mistakes under new names and new rulers. History teaches us not only about greatness, but about the darkness hidden behind it. The lesson is clear. Dignity, justice, and freedom are not gifts given by rulers. They are rights every human deserves. Let us honor those lost voices by remembering their truth. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because together we will uncover more hidden truths of history.